Are we handcuffing Israel in their fight to destroy terrorism and saving freedom in the Middle East and America? And that's the subject of the riff. Anytime hostages are released is a wonderful and joyous development. Israeli and American families have suffered so much while their children, their spouses, soldiers have been held captive in Hamas's hell over the past 15 months. So let's start there and be grateful for it. And let's hope that the freeing of 33 hostages actually takes place. Tragically, that number was around 250 15 months ago. Several American hostages are expected to be released in phase one. 3 are presumed still alive, 4 declared dead. The evil, barbaric Hamas terrorists have murdered the others. It's a hate crime against humanity. And that leads to the second point, which is a question. How good a deal is this? Now, I don't know all the details. Perhaps no one knows all the details. But this is basically the same deal Joe Biden wanted last May. And President-elect Trump undoubtedly brought Hamas to the negotiating table by applying the hammer pledge that all hell would break loose if Hamas didn't free up the hostages. Even Joe Biden's State Department said Mr. Trump's involvement was critical, as our own Edward Lawrence just reported. But as former Ambassador David Friedman and others have noted, the Middle East war is not over. According to reports, Israeli troops will be permitted to remain in the so-called Philadelphia corridor separating Egypt and Gaza for another 6 weeks. But then they're expected to leave. And the so-called phase 2 of the deal mandates a complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and some kind of permanent ceasefire. Meanwhile, at least 1,000 Palestinians, including 200 who murdered Israelis, well, they will all be released from Israel prisons. Well, aren't they going to just go straight to Gaza and resume their violent jihad against Israel and America? And meanwhile, numerous reports suggest Hamas is regrouping, recruiting, re-energizing. Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar was killed by Israeli forces, but his brother Mohammed Sinwar has become the new leader. So if, and it's a big if, the hostages are released in 2 phases, and Israel troops are mandated to leave Gaza, and 1,000 Palestinian prisoners will be released from Israeli jails, and Hamas is rebuilding itself, well, how can this really be a good deal? Now, President Trump is praising the deal as an epic ceasefire agreement. And certainly he and his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, should be given the benefit of the doubt and should be given credit for the hostage release. Perhaps there are many backstage details that we don't know about. Perhaps Saudi Arabia has been persuaded by President Trump to join the Abraham Accords. Perhaps Mr. Trump will give Israel a green light to bomb Iran's nuclear facility. Perhaps the IDF still intends to destroy Hamas altogether. As incoming Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth testified yesterday, he supports killing every last member of Hamas. Incoming National Security Advisor Mike Waltz repeated that this morning. Incoming Secretary of State Marco Rubio testified today that if Hamas is there will never be a ceasefire. Perhaps. But knowing what we think we know, Hamas is going to remain in power in Gaza, and Israel's military presence will end in Gaza. Not good. I always thought we'd just unleash the IDF against all the Middle East terrorists, and that we'd all be grateful to Israel for not only saving their freedom and saving freedom in the Middle East, but frankly, saving all of Western freedom and its Judeo-Christian culture, and thereby saving America as well. But putting the handcuffs back on the IDF will stop them from destroying terrorism and stop them from saving freedom in the Middle East and America. That's what worries me. All right.